What is going on, everybody? It's JetsCentral coming back with another video, and in this one I wanted to touch on some of the storylines thus far through New York Jets training camp, or at least some of the storylines that stood out to me personally. So I was actually going to make this video a little bit sooner, but I sat back, I thought to myself, you know what, I don't want to overreact through one day in training camp. I don't want to, say a guy had a great day. I don't want to, blow it out of proportion. Okay. And vice versa. If a guy didn't have that good of a day, I wanted a few days to kind of go by and to really let the players get their feet wet, if you will, and then kind of assess their performance so far. So the first order of business, okay, this needs to be said first and foremost. Nathan Shepard, defensive lineman, Fort Hays State third-round pick, a guy who I did not know when the New York Jets drafted, and it pisses me off too because I take pride in knowing these draft the prospects and stuff like that. I watch tons of tape throughout the offseason. I try to formulate opinions and stuff on prospects from all across the country. But Nathan Shepard is a guy who I did not know, and he's absolutely dominating right now. He is dominating. He looks fantastic. They are saying he really has no trouble making any transition from Division II football to the NFL level. He's right now performing with the first team. That's fantastic, okay? Physically, he looks great. Mentally, he's picking up the playbook. And everything so far that Nathan Shepard has done to this point has been phenomenal. Okay, he's dominating the starting guards, James Carpenter and Brian Winters. He's putting in work against those guys, and he's playing opposite of Leonard Williams. That's fantastic news. Nathan Shepard, a third-round pick, who is a top 50 prospect by Mike Mayock from NFL Network. So Mayock was high on this guy, and I remember watching it on draft night at my my friend Dalton's house, UCF Jaguar. And I didn't know who he was. And I was listening to what Mike Mayock was, what he had to say. And he was stunned that Shepard fell to the third round. So, this is all great news coming out of Jets camp right now surrounding Nathan Shepard. And I'm really excited to see what he has to, what he's going to bring to the table once he puts on pads against another team. Okay, so I really can't wait to see what Nathan Shepard is going to do preseason. So the next storyline I feel like I should bring up is Trenton Cannon, okay, another rookie. This guy has blazing speed, and he's impressing coaches right now throughout training camp, okay. They say he's doing extremely well as working as a punt returner on special teams and whatnot, but I feel like I should throw that storyline in there because you look at this New York Jets running back room, you have Bilal Powell, you have Isaiah Crowell. Okay, Thomas Rawls is another guy. Alfred Morris is actually visiting the Jets. I believe he visited the Jets yesterday, but it's beside the point. You take a look at this running back room, and there's not that many reps to go around. So it's really encouraging to hear and to see Trenton Cannon, a rookie, okay, a late round rookie, is making some headlines. He's turning some heads. He's catching the attention of the New York Jets coaching staff. So to be hearing that right now, and granted he's a small school kid, so I'm always pulling for him. That's just great news. Okay, it's just great news to see that just a late round kid who wasn't at an Alabama, a UF, a Florida State, a top dog school, to be turning some heads in a crowded running back room. Okay, and that's just something I felt like I needed to throw in there. Okay. So next up is the wide receiving room, Chad Hansen and Ardarius Stewart. Okay, Chad Hansen is a guy who I liked at Cal. I really did. I thought he wasn't really great at one thing. He was pretty much good at a lot of things, okay? So he wasn't the fastest guy. He wasn't the strongest guy. He didn't have like the highest vert, anything like that. But what he did have is hands, okay? He was, like I said, he was good at a lot of things, but I would say his best trait was his overall catching ability and his hands. Chad Hansen has been working in the offseason with Sam Darnold. They're both from California. They're both, buddies right now. And they've just been working and trying to create that chemistry. So Chad Hansen has been impressing at camp. Now he's not like Julio Jones or Odell Beckham as of right now. But as today stands, it's 1:30 on a Tuesday. Chad Hansen is looking pretty good so far, and they say he might crack this starting lineup. Okay, I know it's a somewhat of a crowded room with Curse and Robbie Anderson. Terrell Pryor needs to get some reps in there as well. Also, can't forget about Quincy Enunwa, who looks good so far. But Chad Hansen, they say this guy's looking great, especially the chemistry with Sam Darnold, okay? And you could probably point to them working in the offseason together. Now, the other wide receiver, same draft class, Ardarius Stewart out of Alabama. This is a guy who recently was suspended, okay? He was suspended, I believe, for the first two... I think it was the first 2 games of the season. It's either 2 or 4, but... Oh, Rashard Robinson, I think, got the 4 game, and then Ardarius got the 2 game. Anyway, Ardarius Stewart, he's going to be suspended for the first few games of the season, and this is a guy who I liked at Alabama a lot. I don't want to say he had a good rookie season because he didn't get that many touches, and he was battling some injuries kind of throughout it, but when he did play, when he did kind of get in the games, I thought he was pretty electric. You know, you could run this guy on reverses, you could throw screens to this guy. I remember he had this one huge third down catch, this third down completion. It was just a play that needed to be made to win that game, and he went out there and made it. I think it was early on against the Miami Dolphins, but could be wrong. Anyway, Ardarius Stewart has been looking pretty good so far in camp, but the New York Jets coaching staff is kind of prepared for this guy to be sitting out in the first few games of the season. Okay, so those are a few of the storylines that I just felt like I needed to bring up. Trenton Cannon, Nathan Shepard. I want to talk a little bit about Chad Hansen so far, and to kind of I guess segue to a little bit, some older players. Darren Lee. Darren Lee is a guy who I believe is going to have a breakout year. Not saying he's going to get 130 tackles, anything crazy, but I think Darren Lee is going to take a huge step forward as far as the inside linebacking position goes. Darren Lee hasn't been playing the inside linebacker for that long. I believe he's a quarterback in high school, goes to Ohio State, and they switch him to inside linebacker. So he hasn't been playing that position for a long time. So when you look at it, you take a look at Darren Lee's physical abilities. He's on the smaller end, but he's quick, he's fast, he's light on his feet. I like that. He could go sideline to sideline quickly, the horizontal speed. I always talk about that with linebackers. I think to be a successful, especially outside linebacker, you have to have good horizontal speed to be able to, to ball hawk, to get from one sideline to the other at an efficient rate. So Darren Lee has been really putting in work this offseason. Guys, notable names too. Marcus May, Dante Fowler Jr., the defensive end for the Jacksonville Jaguars, who went to UF. So he's been really working out. He's been working his tail off, okay? And right now, the buzz around Darren Lee at camp is that this guy, he's not showing any signs of wear and tear. He's not getting tired. He's not gassed. He's just full steam ahead. So much energy, so much passion, and he's looking great so far. And he's in the best shape of his life. That's unbelievable for Darren Lee, at this point of his career. So Darren Lee's a guy who I think is going to take a huge step forward. And then Leonard Williams. Leonard Williams is a guy who is talked about being the number 1 player in the 2015 draft class. Okay, the number 1 player. And he slid in the draft due to team needs. Okay, you look at the Bucks, Jameis, Titans, Mariota, then I believe it was Fowler to the Jags, Cooper to the Raiders, Brandon Scherf to the Redskins, and then Leonard Williams fell right in the Jets' lap. And there was a lot of controversy around that pick because the Jets, we have Muhammad Wilkerson, we have Sheldon Richardson, all these guys. We had a stacked defensive line at the time, and yet the New York Jets still went ahead. Mike McCagnon and Todd Bowles' first year with the team still went ahead and just chose best player available. They said, we don't care. We're stacked at the defensive line. He is the best player on the board. It's just we're drafting for value here. And it turned out to be a great selection. So it leads me to this. Leonard Williams has been looking great so far in camp. He's looking more mature. He's taking more of a vocal leadership role, which is really good to hear because I've always kind of viewed Leonard Williams as kind of like, he doesn't have like that New York personality. You could tell he's from the West Coast. You could tell this guy's laid back, he's chill and stuff like that. So it's really cool to see Leonard Williams, kind of like a mellow dude, taking that vocal leadership role. Demanding accountability and just being the leader, of that defense, being the anchor on that defensive line. So Leonard Williams has been doing his thing. So those all in all, are just some of the storylines I want to touch on. Some of the younger guys, and then some of the, I don't want to call them older guys, or definitely not call them veterans, but just guys who have been with the team for a long time now. Or for a few seasons now, I should say. So, yeah, those are a few storylines. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Jets.